What's up, everybody? This is your boy Chainsaw. Boy, I want to jump right into this because we've got a lot to go over today. There's been a lot of crazy stuff happening, a lot of breaking news in today's show. But of course, I did want to remind you that Chainsaw Cash Coffee and Chaos is nearly 100% viewer funded. So I encourage you, rather I urge you, to hit that subscribe button if you're catching us on YouTube. If you're following on Instagram, Twitter, or Twitch when we do live streams, feel free to jump on over to YouTube. Of course, hit that membership and hit me up on Facebook. I love hearing from folks who enjoy the show. I also enjoy hearing from folks who hate the show. First, we're going to jump into some of the most disgusting things I have come across this week, this month, possibly even this year. Possibly this year. It's been a long year. So I caught this from AP. Actually, I caught a couple of days ago. Heard a little something about this on another newscast here, making reference to a call to remove black pastors from the Ahmaud Arbery case. This is one that's been making national news. It's obviously made it to trial here. But let's just jump right into it. This is from AP News. Call to remove black pastors adds to agony in Arbery's town. Wow. So, honey clergy prayers. Brunswick, Georgia. Race was always going to be at the forefront of the trial of three white men charged with chasing and killing Ahmaud Arbery, a 25-year-old black man in a coastal Georgia neighborhood. But a defense attorney's quickly rejected, call to kick out black pastors, including Jesse Jackson from the Glynn County courtroom, intensified frustrations and added fresh agony to a lingering wound that many in the community had hoped the trial could start healing. About a mile from the courthouse in the majority black city of Brunswick, Tony Bryant had been following the proceedings, sitting outside the front door of his apartment with peeling teal paint and a view of cranes at the state of Georgia's port along the East River. He said the way race has seeped into the trial has been discouraging but not surprising. From seating an almost all-white jury when 27% of Glynn County's 85,000 people are black. They're trying to kick out Jackson and other pastors. Three white men killed a black guy. Come on, man. Who do they think they're going to be? Who do you think there was going to be there to support his family? Bryant said. The request was especially offensive because pastors play an important role in comforting people who are hurting and demanding justice, said John Perry, a pastor and former leader of Brunswick's chapter of the NAACP, and of course play a very large role, not specifically just in black communities, but especially in the South. It's like the cornerstone of the community. I believe we're seeing overwhelming evidence that points us toward guilt. And so there's been an attempt to take the focus off of the evidence. Perry said, no surprise there. After Jackson, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and others sat with Arbery's family in court, defense attorney Kevin Goff asked the judge to kick out the pastors, saying civil rights icons could influence the jury. Oh, imagine that in a court case like this. I don't think they need any more sway. We don't want any more black pastors coming in here. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but let's hold there at black pastors, and let's actually take a look at some of the comments that were made here. Let me pull this up. What's going to be first here?
Investigator Lowry yesterday is that the Right Reverend Al Sharpton managed to find his way into the back of the courtroom. I'm guessing he was somehow there at the invitation of the victim's family in this case. And I have nothing personally against Mr. Sharpton. My concern is that it's one thing for the family to be present. It's another thing to ask for the lawyers to be present. But if we're going to start a precedent, starting yesterday, we're going to bring high-profile members of the African-American community into the courtroom to sit with the family during the trial in the presence of the jury, I believe that's intimidating, and it's an attempt to pressure, could be consciously or unconsciously, an attempt to pressure or influence the jury. To my knowledge, Reverend Al Sharpton has no church in Glynn County, never has. Hasn't been here since Elaine Brown ran for mayor, to my knowledge. But we have all kinds of people. We have school board members. We have county commissioners. We have all kinds of pastors in this town, over 100. The idea that we're going to be serially bringing these people in to sit with the victim's family one after another, obviously there's only so many pastors they can have. And if their pastor's Al Sharpton right now, that's fine, but then that's it. We don't want any more black pastors coming in here.
Now, you know, and I've seen this in other broadcasts that cover this, you know, right after it happened. I'm a little bit late to the gun, but a lot of the commentary I've heard has been something along the lines of, well, he just as easily could have said, you know, we don't need any public figures, you know, coming in. We don't need any, you know, any folks of a larger notoriety, you know, anyone who's you know, for say political reasons. I mean, he could have literally said anything, but yeah, he went there.
Pastors they can have. And if their pastor's Al Sharpton right now, that's fine, but then that's it. We don't want any more black pastors coming in here, or other Jesse Jackson, whoever was in here earlier this week, sitting with the victim's family, trying to influence a jury in this case. And I'm not saying the state is even aware that Mr. Sharpton was in the courtroom. I certainly wasn't aware of it.
You don't need any more black pastors. We don't need any more Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. In a case like this, you know, literally could have said anything, but we don't need any more black pastors. I mean, the guy could have went through the motions. But that was a curious choice of words for a case like this. And again, this is the defense attorney, not looking so good for the defense, just across the board. For a murder that, you know, is alleged was racially motivated in this community, with the evidence weighing against the defense. Not probably the best. How's that guy still got a job? Oh, but oh, it's not quite over yet. So let's take a look here. Fair enough. And this was posted by Haley Mason at Haley Mason TV. This is from her Twitter feed here of the following day. She posts, attorney Kevin Goff stands up to his address, his comments from yesterday. So it was the following day. He said he didn't want any more black pastors in courtroom. He says he'll file a specific motion about it on Monday. And, well, I don't want to ruin it for you, so let's just jump right into the video here. Let's see.
Your Honor, I've been asked to address some comments the other day. The court hasn't asked me to do that.
I said anybody to do that, quite honestly. I think whatever you've been asked to do has not been asked by the court.
Very well. I will let the court know that if my statements yesterday were overly broad, I will follow up with a more specific motion on Monday, putting that and those concerns in the proper context. And my apologies to anyone who might have inadvertently been offended.
All right.
So apologizing for his broad comments and apologizing if you were offended by what he said. How about, wow, didn't mean to say something so disgusting. I misspoke in a really bad kind of way. You know, again, his comments were that his previous comments the day before were too broad. Clearly they were too specific. But yeah. So there's that. Let's see. So where did we leave off here? Well, more black pastors. We covered that. Well, as Sharpton said, he started gathering dozens of black pastors outside the courthouse Thursday with lawyers representing Arbery's family. They tried to ban one. We're coming back with 100, Sharpton said. Superior Court Judge Timothy Walmsley called the request against the black pastors reprehensible because in America, trials in courtrooms are open for all outside of pandemic concerns, and the pastors follow those rules. Imagine that. That opinion was echoed throughout Brunswick from groups of white and black pastors gathering outside the courthouse each day to shop owners a few blocks away, where a glance to the left sees dozens of expensive boat stock. Melissa Bagby winced when a reporter asked her about her attorney's request. That was disgusting, she said, behind the counter of the market. A store full of knickknacks, whimsical signs, and a cat named Sasha who leads customers to her food bowl. Cute. Arbery wasn't armed and wasn't doing anything wrong, Bagby said. I think they're trying to do whatever they can. Obviously, this is not a good way to bring the attention away from the surmountable evidence here. The city 15,000, which is the gateway to idyllic spots along the coast and surrounded by a country where a significant majority of people are white, has talked and prayed its way through the danger after the men weren't charged for more than 2 months. Yikes. After video of them chasing Arbery in pickup trucks was released and state investigators took over, in Brunswick, white and black people make a point to sit at the dinner table and drink tea and lemonade and eat chicken and biscuits while sharing their thoughts and experiences, said Reverend Abra Latney Reed, a black pastor who has lived in Brunswick all her 60 years. But each new point of racial division from the trial hurts her goal of bringing black and white people together to solve other more persistent problems, like living in a community in general, the day-to-days. It sets us back because it takes us away from conversations that were already going on, said Latney Reed, who pastors Harper's Chapel United Methodist Church. It's taken our attention away from education, economic justice, and stimulating the economy for a common good. Because, who wants to go to your clan town? I mean, well, there's a certain group of people who want to go to your clan town, I guess. But, yeah, that's another story. If it comes back not guilty, I would leave town for at least 3 days. Not guilty would open the floodgates, said Perry, the local civil rights leader. None of the businesses near the courthouse accustomed to taping up or boarding windows when hurricanes threaten have taken precautions. Danielle Brazel and other business owners worried last year when a protest outside the office of a local prosecutor, who initially chose not to charge the men, attracted national attention. What? I felt better after that, said Brazel, who owns the Rose and Vine gift shop. I think they'll be found guilty. They deserve it for what they did. But if they aren't, I think people will understand it isn't the community's fault. No, it's America's fault. That's insane. And I'll discuss this a little bit later about some of, well, we'll get to that. Before testimony in the trial started, outgoing Brunswick Mayor Cornell Harvey, who's black, and Glenn County Commission Chairman Wayne Neal, who's white, spoke in a video with a number of other people in the community, urging unity and togetherness. I'm praying that this doesn't become a racial divide, Harvey said Tuesday. We have a chance to show the world that we know how to keep the peace in a peaceful town. So with that, and pre-recorded segment that'll be proceeding this after the break, I'll make reference to some of the things that I've heard other folks who do podcasts, YouTube channels, talking heads, radio announcers, or radio news talk, talk news, talk news. These guys who got things like this in their ear, right? On these funny little screens, right? That show magical things like this. They'll say things like, and of course this is from a certain persuasion of opinion, right? They'll say things like, for instance, when you're 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you're in social studies class, you're in history class, and you learn about, you're reading the Constitution in full. You're reading about, the Bill of Rights, the preamble, the 3 tiers of government. You kind of learn how, the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch, checks and balances, how they kind of cooperate or don't cooperate, to operate, rather. And then you get, all one need do is just turn on, a cable news channel, one of these opinion shows, and one of these shows where you got these guys with, these things on their head. You watch too many of those things, and you'll find out really quick that the mythology in those books ain't exactly how it works in the real world. And that's, to quote one of my new favorites, Mr. Oh, the fifth column. Love that guy. Got the same barber. It's great. But he makes a reference to something similar on his show, and one of the things that really grabbed my attention is he keeps referring it to the American mythology, and I love that. I personally absolutely love that because it's real. The mythology that you see or that you read about in school, in social studies class, in history class, whenever you go out in the real world is made up of people, as he puts it, and people are imperfect, and some people are bad. So there's a little bit of a divide there, and so this is where critical thinking comes into play. And I know we're talking critical thinking. Critical is a word that's been hitting the mainstay also pretty recently, so we don't want to be too critical on that. Otherwise, QAnon will be eating up my comments here. I'll have to turn into Representative Paul Gosar and block people from commenting on my Twitter feed. But so speaking of of just crazy things happening in trials, I want to just jump right into this and let's see if I can do this up correctly. Nope, just a little bit off. All right. So I saw this earlier. I know everybody else has been following the Kyle Rittenhouse case also, just to kind of discuss who's imperfect and who's just bad people in general, because there's a lot of both of those kind of on both sides of this argument here, more on one than the other, depending on your particular opinion on the matter. But we'll jump into that. So AP News literally, this is breaking news. AP posted, Rittenhouse lawyers asked judge to declare a mistrial over video. Reads, Kyle Rittenhouse's attorneys asked the judge to declare a mistrial even as the jury in the murder case was deliberating Wednesday, saying that the defense received an inferior copy of potentially crucial video from prosecutors. And so let's take a look here at way too many trade secrets now. Let's take a look here at the recount for a quick look at that.
I'm going to be asking the court for a mistrial based upon the fact that if we're really trying to get to the heart of it, we've watched the video, I can tell you what we think, but it doesn't matter what we think because we don't get to present that to the jury anymore.
So these folks are asking for a mistrial, but why? Well, let's take a look here. Apparently there's a copy of potentially crucial video that was held by prosecutors alleged wasn't presented to the defense. Judge Bruce Schrader did not immediately rule on the request, the second mistrial motion from the defense in a week. The jury deliberated a second full day without reaching a verdict and will return in the morning. At issue was a piece of drone video that prosecutors showed to the jury in closing arguments in a bid to undermine Rittenhouse's self-defense claim and portray him as an instigator of bloodshed in Kenosha in the summer 2020. Prosecutors said the footage showed him pointing his rifle at protesters before the shooting erupted. Rittenhouse attorney Corey Shirafisi said the defense initially received a smaller, compressed version of the video and didn't get the higher quality, larger one used by the prosecution until the evidence portion of the case was over. He said that the defense would have approached things differently if it had received the better footage earlier, and that it is now asking for a level, fair playing field. He asked the mistrial request would be made without prejudice, meaning prosecutors could still retry Rittenhouse. Last week, the defense asked for a mistrial with prejudice, meaning Rittenhouse could not be put on trial again. That request was prompted by what the defense said were improper questions asked by prosecutor Tim Binger during his cross-examination of Rittenhouse. Which, wow, that was a brave assertion by the defense there, just based on what I saw. But hey, who am I? I'm just some guy who, you folks don't even know if I'm wearing pants. I certainly didn't comb my hair today, so it's been a rough one. Rittenhouse 18 is on trial for homicide, attempted homicide charges for killing 2 men and wounding a third with an AR-15 or AR-style semi-automatic rifle during a tumultuous night. Protests over the police shooting of Jacob Blake, a black man by a white officer. Rittenhouse, then 17, former police youth cadet, said he went to Kenosha to protect property from rioters, of course, for reasons that are only beknownst to Facebook there. Shot and killed Joseph Rosenbaum, 36. Anthony Huber, 26. Wounded Gage Grosskreutz, now 28. Let's see. Prosecution ends the video, proves Rittenhouse lied on the stand when he said he didn't point his rifle at the protesters. Ooh. Ooh. Not good. Not good. But the key moment in the video is hard to decipher because of how far away the drone was and how small a figure Rittenhouse is in the frame. Smaller size file or resolution video is fuzzier and grainier, particularly if played on a larger screen, said Dennis Keeling, adjunct professor in the Cinema and Television Arts Department at Columbia College Chicago. That's why people working with video footage are careful to check file size, length, details after making a copy to ensure the new version is what they wanted. He added. Prosecutors told the judge Wednesday that the jury saw the highest quality version during the trial and that it was not the state's fault that the file size got smaller when received by the defense. We're focusing too heavily on a technological glitch. Prosecutor James Krause said, the judge said he had qualms about admitting the video during the trial because it had already been shown in court. He would allow the jury to rewatch it during deliberations. But if it turns out the video should not have been admitted into evidence, it's going to be ugly, Schrader warned. He said the mistrial request will have to be addressed if there is a guilty verdict. If Rittenhouse is acquitted, the issue will be moot. But if he's found guilty, a mistrial ruling would essentially void the verdict. Julius Kim, a Milwaukee-based defense attorney who's been watching the case, said a mistrial could be declared even if the judge finds it was an honest mistake or a technical problem. But to win a mistrial, the defense will have to meet a high bar and explain to the judge why what happened actually hurt Rittenhouse. And in this case, that doesn't really seem to be the case. You can't just say the state gave me a lower quality video and therefore I get a mistrial. That's a losing argument for sure. Early in the day, the judge criticized news coverage of the case and second guessing from legal experts in the media, as saying he would think long and hard about allowing revised trials in the future. He took exemption to the news stories about his decision not to allow the men Rittenhouse shot to be called victims. What? And to let Rittenhouse draw the lots that determine which jurors were alternates. There's just so many things in this case that pretty much never seen in any other court case seen before. Not that I'm an attorney or anything, and not that I watch a whole lot of court TV or anything, but I can't recall the last time I saw somebody who was being charged for murder just kind of hanging out unguarded on basically not in handcuffs, standing behind a judge, looking like they're hitting up the old Xbox there. But that's another story. But look, this is going to get really interesting. Like I say, this is basically breaking news. Just caught this recently, so I figured I'd go ahead and include this. And lastly, before we jump off for a break here, this is something that definitely grabbed my attention. Let's see if I can cue this up correctly here. Yeah, there we go. Woo! This guy. January 6th rioter who carried spear, wore horns, draws 41 months. Yikes. So the old, I guess this is the Antifa shaman? Well, he shall be in jail for a little while, it looks like. Jacob Chansley, the spear-carrying January 6th rioter whose horned fur hat, bare chest, and face paint made him one of the more recognizable figures in the assault on the Capitol, was sentenced Wednesday to 41 months in prison. So, I guess that just shows it doesn't pay to play, right? Party in Law and Order. Again, this must have been Antifa liberals paid by George Soros. Clearly, just like what was that? The Charlottesville riots, right? We'll get to that in the next segment. But Chansley, who pleaded guilty to a felony charge of obstructing an official proceeding, was among the first rioters to enter the building. He's acknowledged using a bullhorn to rile up the mob, offering thanks and prayer while in the Senate for having a chance to get rid of traitors, and scratching out a threatening note to Vice President Mike Pence saying it's only a matter of time. Justice is coming. Though he isn't accused of violence, prosecutors say Chansley of Arizona was the public face of the Capitol riot, who went into the attack with a weapon, ignored repeated police orders to leave the building, and gloated about his actions in the days immediately after the attack. Before he was sentenced, Chansley told U.S. District Judge Royce Lamberth it was wrong for him to enter the Capitol, and that he accepts responsibility for his actions. Well, that's convenient, isn't it? He emphasized he wasn't an insurrectionist and is troubled with the way he is portrayed in the news in the aftermath of the riot. Well, bet. I have no excuse, Chansley said. No excuses whatsoever. My behavior is indefensible. Then why are you trying to defend it, bro? Just take you slap on the wrist there for doing something unspeakable. The judge said Chansley's remorse appeared to be genuine, but noted the seriousness of the actions of his actions in the Capitol. What you did was terrible, Lambert said. You made yourself the center of the riot. The image of Chansley's holding a flagpole tipped with a spear and looking as if he were howling was one of the most striking to emerge from the riot. He previously called himself the QAnon shaman, but as we found out, he was paid by George Soros and is a liberal shill for the commie Antifa, right? Yikes. But has since repudiated the QAnon movement, which is centered on the baseless belief that former President Donald Trump was fighting a cabal of Satan-worshipping, child sex trafficking cannibals. Yeah, that's... See, the difference is the thing I said before was satire. This shit's real. Oh, my God. He's among 650 people charged in the riot that forced lawmakers into hiding as they were meeting to certify President Joe Biden's electoral college victory. More than 120 defendants have pleaded guilty, mostly to misdemeanor charges of demonstrating in the Capitol that carry a maximum of 6 months in prison. Chansley and Scott Fairlamb, a New Jersey gym owner, sentenced last week for punching a police officer during the attack, have received the longest prison sentences out of the 38 Capitol riot defendants who have been punished so far. Chansley, who's been in jail for 10 months, sought to be sentenced to time served. His lawyer, Albert Watkins, said his client has longstanding mental health problems that were worsened by being held in solitary confinement due to COVID-19 protocols and is dire need of mental health treatment. So 41 months in prison for all that wild stuff, right? And if you feel like that's a good thing, if you feel like that's it, the good, that the punishment fits the crime, and then we're looking at the Kyle Rittenhouse case, and we're like, okay, so this video footage of him basically lying about whether or not he pointed his weapon at protesters, that we're going to get a mistrial maybe because like we got a version in color now. It's 1080p. All right, cool. But then we come down to Brunswick, Georgia, and we got a black guy who was killed by a bunch of the Klan, basically, the redneck Klan, and they got this on video too. I don't know if it's 1080p. Because again, I'm not watching a lot of court TV, but might be. I don't know. Folks got it's just new iPhones. They got good stuff now, and they can't figure out whether or not they're like, well, maybe we should prosecute these guys. Maybe we shouldn't. Hey, look. Don't worry about it. I live in a state where our attorney general is suing like every single school in a 70-mile radius of where the community that I was born and raised in, just about, and that's satire. It's not actually every single community, but it's just a lot, because he's concerned on whether or not they're going to be teaching, critical thinking in schools to children to maybe prevent this sort of stupidity from. What did that say in the AP article? That President Donald Trump was fighting a cabal of Satan-worshipping, child sex trafficking cannibals. I think the United States needs a little bit more critical thinking. If we can't get it started in public school, then where is it supposed to come from? Because it obviously is not coming from the guys with these little things in their ear, I promise you. So, yeah, we're going to take a short break. We're going to jump right back into it, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Webull is the stock app and trading platform that everybody's using, and I mean everybody's using. You've seen it all over YouTube. I use it on my own channel to show what's happening in the market. You pay 0 commission fees. You can own fractional shares. You can even trade in cryptocurrencies and access real-time market data. Use my referral link, chainsawccc.com/Webull. That's chainsawccc.com/Webull, Webull, and get your 2 free stocks. Simply by opening an account and depositing any amount, get you 2 free stocks from Webull. Believe me, you're going to want this one. Welcome back. And as I've mentioned several times before, Chainsaw Cash, Coffee, and Chaos is nearly 100% viewer funded. So thank you very much to those who have subscribed. I encourage you to go to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe to the channel. Check me out, of course, on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and of course Facebook. But the most important thing you can do to support the show and the cause, the pushback against the wacky fascist message you'll hear on talk radio and other social media channels and outlets is to subscribe and feel free to leave a comment if you like it, if you love it, if you hate it. Always looking forward to reading messages from viewers. But let's just jump right into this. So breaking news as of the time of filming, anyway, and this is coming kind of some news that's been happening over the last say about a week here, but we'll jump into the backstory and then we'll get straight to the breaking news. So the House is looking to vote to censoring Representative Paul Gosar over a video that he'd made. This is coming directly from AP. Now I apologize, I wasn't actually able to find the video, and we'll mention a little bit about that, what happened to the video and why you're not able to find it online either. So let's ads here, jump right into it. So Washington AP, the House will vote Wednesday, that's today, on a resolution to censor Republican Representative Paul Gosar, Dr. Paul Gosar, if you will, of Arizona, for tweeting an animated video that depicts him striking Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a Democrat from New York, with a sword. Now, if you haven't seen the video, again, I wasn't able to actually find it and pull it up for this segment here, unfortunately, but it's pretty unique, to say the least, right? Basically, in the video, it's a scene from Attack on Titan, and they've just rendered Paul Gosar's head on the protagonist character, and I guess on the Titans, the Kyojin, they've rendered Representative Ocasio-Cortez's head, and then I believe, and again, this is a few days ago when I saw it, President Joe Biden's head on another one. So Democratic lawmakers said that Gosar's actions amounted to threatening another member's life, calling the video so beyond the pale. Republicans warned Democrats to be careful about dictating the punishment of those who serve in the minority because of the precedent it will set. Earlier this year, the House stripped Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican of Georgia, of her committee assignments for spreading hateful, violent conspiracy theories. Yeah, she's nuts. This is a dark and dangerous road for the majority. The majority is going down, said Representative Tom Cole of Oklahoma, the ranking Republican on the House Rules Committee. I urge you, for the future of the chamber, to rethink this course. Now, despite what Representative Cole says, it's not political. I mean, you can't. If you work at McDonald's and you posted something like this on social media, you're probably going to get fired. Let alone taken off the front counter and put back on dish. So, the fact that he's not in jail for making these kind of this goes what goes beyond the pale is artistic expression. But Gosar posted the video over a week ago with a note saying, any anime fans out there? Question mark. The roughly 90-second video was an altered version of a Japanese anime clip interspersed with shots of Border Patrol officers and migrants at the southern U.S. border. During one roughly 10-second section, animated characters whose faces have been replaced with Gosar Green of Georgia and Lauren Boebert of Colorado were shown fighting other animated characters. In one scene, Gosar's character is seen striking the one made to look like Ocasio-Cortez in the neck with a sword. If you've seen the show, you get the premise. The video also shows him attacking President Joe Biden. I don't know if it was to create harm, if it was to incite violence, if it was to fuel hate, but it probably accomplished all of those things, said Representative Veronica Escobar, a Democrat from Texas. We had an obligation to live up to the highest standards possible, but also to hold each other up to those standards. If we don't do it, then what are we doing? What we're doing is allowing for a new norm to be created. Last week, Gosar issued a statement saying the video wasn't meant to depict harm or violence, calling it instead a symbolic portrayal of a fight over immigration policy. Cute. He told his House Republican colleagues during a private meeting Tuesday that he would never espouse violence or harm to anyone. Gosar noted that he took the video down from his account, according to a person in the room who spoke on conditions of anonymity to discuss the private meeting. Now, Twitter had originally allowed for the video to stay up and stay posted. They did post a warning, of course, that these scenes may depict things that are pretty disgusting. So watch at your own discretion, right? But and I looked, obviously, Representative Dr. Paul Gosar did remove the video, but in its place, the menace isn't exactly over. He did leave this tweet, and this was posted same day, the 9th. Representative Paul Gosar, DDS, that's at Rep Gosar on Twitter. Your cartoon anime scares me with your jetpack, flying, and lightsabers. Or actually, lightsabers, at least in the scenes that I saw. Might not have caught it in full here. It's a cartoon, relax. So, it's good enough for him to mock, good enough for him to post. It's certainly good enough for him to take down, but, obviously because of the backlash, and I guess because he was ashamed of, his artistic expression. But, yeah, so, other lawmakers, this happened, obviously, earlier, say about a week ago, and other lawmakers have chimed in on this. Let's take a look at just some of the video clips from other lawmakers. This is pulled from the recount here. Let's take a listen here.
We just found out on the House floor, I am sitting in the House booth right now, not a prison cell, I promise you, that the House is going to hold a vote trying to censure Paul Gosar tomorrow. That's, it's unclear how many Republicans are ultimately going to vote for that. House Democrats are going to try to strip him of his committee assignment. He sits on the House Oversight Committee. I just grabbed a handful of Republicans. They were very reticent to criticize him.
And from Speaker Pelosi.
From potentially the committee assignment.
Why go after him?
Yes.
Because he made threats, suggestions about harming a member of Congress. That is an insult, not only an endangerment of that member of Congress, but an insult to the institution of the House of Representatives. We cannot have members joking about murdering each other, as well as threatening the President of the United States.
And Speaker Pelosi, the vote will be tomorrow, correct?
And see, we'll save that one. The Representative Paul Gosar actually at the testifying before the House here. Let's take a look.
No matter how much the left tries to quiet me, I will continue to speak out against amnesty for illegal aliens, defend the rule of law, and advance the American First agenda. If I must join
Gentleman's recognized, 30 seconds.
If I must join Alexander Hamilton, the first person attempted to be censored by this House, So be it. It is done.
Invoking Alexander Hamilton. That's bit of a reach. Hope he stretched. Did he go too far? We'll see here. So Representative Jackson Lee, Democrat from Texas, speaking out.
Oath of office that is taken by members of Congress gives us many privileges, and I'll detail that in my debate. But it does not give us the privileges of murder, to kill, to assault without impunity.
And speaking before the U.S. House.
It is treasonous to be seen to attack the President of the United States of America. In one scene, footage of migrants crossing the Rio Grande is overlaid with what appears to be splattered blood. Who are we as a nation? In another, the words drugs, crime, poverty, money, murder, gangs, violence, trafficking flash across the screen. Mr. Gosar knew what he was doing.
And we even get to hear from Representative Busy Hands himself here. Here's Matt Gaetz from Florida.
Anime is fiction to the point of the absurd. It's not really my thing, and it does glorify violence, but often to symbolize conflict, not realistic harm to another person. In the last session week we had, we reviewed Steve Bannon's podcast. Today, we're critiquing Paul Gosar's anime. Next week, we might be indicting the Wile E. Coyote for an explosive ordinance against the Roadrunner.
Aren't these the same people who just tried to pick a fight with Big Bird? Just about the same time. I'm pretty sure, and you can check on this if you like. Representative Paul Gosar makes a reference to Big Bird being a commie on his Twitter feed, but hey, the hypocrisy knows no bounds, right? And House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy weighs in. During the press conference, I guess he was asked if he'll comment about Representative Paul Gosar.
Did you listen to anything we said? Did you listen to anything the American public said last Tuesday?
I did, but he's about to be censured in an extraordinary way.
Thank you. Next question.
Right. So refusing to answer questions. Great. And well, let's take a look and see AOC's response. Of course, she tweeted a response, but of course, this is directly on the U.S. House today.
This is not about a double standard, and what is unprecedented and what is tragic is the descent of transgression in this body. I grew up as a little girl with awe about our nation's capital. The reverence and the importance and the gravity of our work here.
You have additional 30 seconds.
Gentlemen, is recognized. The gravity of our work here. So the question that I pose to this body in response is, will we live up to the promises that we make our children? That this is a place where we will defend one another regardless of belief. That our core human dignity matters. If you believe that this behavior is acceptable, go ahead. Vote no. But if you believe that this behavior should not be accepted, then vote yes. It's really that simple. Thank you.
And ironically, just since she mentions that, and I've heard a lot of commentary recently from other talking heads on they say talk news, radio, YouTubers, folks with podcasts, making reference to the American mythology that honestly most of us, and myself included, grew up on, were raised upon in public school system. You go to civics class, you go to social studies class, you go to American history class, versus the real world and how the real world works. those same sixth, seventh, and eighth graders taking social studies classes, learning about the history of the United States and reading the Constitution for the in full for the first time, um, may very well, and in a lot of cases, grow up to find out that hey, they were just lied to if they turn on the news and see what's going on out there. But between the court cases that have taken the national stage in recent weeks, and just crazy stuff like this by representatives, the things that we've seen in the last couple of years would really make the entire system out to plays against the American mythology versus the reality of living in the United States. But let's continue here. So this is again Representative Gosar. I think we caught this here. It's House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, actually before the U.S. House here, giving his 2 cents worth.
The Speaker is burning down the House on her way out the door. What's worse, we got to this point on the basis of a double standard. Democrats want to change the rules but refuse to apply them to their own caucus.
Democrats want to change the rules. All right. And quick screenshot of the vote here.
Think your brother is dangerous?
I do. Yeah, I do. I don't try to choose.
Oh, and so this is Tim Gosar, brother of Representative Gosar. Now, I may include this, in a future segment here about there's actually a political campaign video that was made by his opponent for the previous election, where it has, well, you'll just have to see it. It's a bunch of folks speaking out against Representative Gosar, and in the hopes that he doesn't win that election campaign, making reference to him not having the people of Arizona in his their best interests at heart, and come to find out that every single person in the commercial is a sibling or a relative, Representative Gosar. So this is Tim Gosar, brother of Paul.
Use my words loosely. I believe he's dangerous, unhinged, and is reckless, and is somebody that, as I've said before, needs to not only be censored, but he needs to be expelled.
Well, and you heard it there first. That's what the family's saying. So let's take a look, and this is the breaking news here. House censures Representative Gosar for violent video in rare rebuke. Now, this is obviously a little bit more than 30 minutes ago, but this is still breaking news. So hopefully we're catching this before any other outlet, right? So Washington AP, the House voted Wednesday to censor Representative Paul Gosar of Arizona for posting an animated video that depicted him killing Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with a sword. Extraordinary rebuke that highlighted the political strains testing Washington and the country, calling the video a clear threat to a lawmaker's life. Democrats argued Gosar's conduct would not be tolerated in any other workplace and shouldn't be in Congress, and it wouldn't. I mean, you try this stuff at McDonald's and you're going to get fired. You're definitely not going to be pulled, like I said, you're not going to be pulled off the front desk and sent to dish duty. You're just going to go home with sadness in your eyes. For sheer stupidity. The vote to censor Gosar and also strip him of his committee assignments was approved by a vote of 223 to 207, almost entirely along party lines. So, you know where that stands, right? At least in the House. What's acceptable. So, keep it in mind, these So the party of law and order that we're talking about, these are the same folks who, pull yourself up pull yourself up by your bootstraps, folks. So the hypocrisy knows no bounds. Republican Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy called the vote an abuse of power by Democrats to distract from national problems He said of the censor, a new standard will continue to be applied in the future. Great. So if anybody else is making these kind of, art projects and posting that stuff to social media, then they probably should. I mean, isn't there enough violent rhetoric from the right in this country? I mean, really? I can't believe that anyone's surprised, by the response to this, let alone the actions of Representative Gosar. A signal of potential ramifications for Democratic members in the future Congresses, he says. A Democrat said there was nothing political about it. These actions demand a response. We cannot have members joking about murdering each other, said House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. This is both an endangerment of our elected officials and an insult to the institution. Right, act like a freaking professional or you lose your job. Maybe next. Ocasio-Cortez herself said in an emotional speech, "Our work here matters. Our example matters. There is meaning in our service and as leaders in the country. When we incite violence and depictions against our colleagues, that trickles down to violence in this country, and that is where we must draw the line." I'm pretty sure there's a huge situation going on with some of that may have happened around January. That's something QAnon shaman. An unrepentant Gosar rejected that what he called the mischaracterization that the cartoon was dangerous or threatening. It was not. I do not espouse violence toward anyone. I never have. It was not in my purpose to make anyone upset, Gosar said. He compared himself to Alexander Hamilton, the nation's first Treasury Secretary, celebrated in recent years, a Broadway musical, whose censure vote in the House was defeated. If I must join Alexander Hamilton, the first person attempted to be censored by this House, so be it. It is done. The decision to censure Gosar, one of the strongest punishments the House can dole out, was just the fourth in nearly 40 years and just the latest example of the raw tensions that have roiled Congress since the 2020 election and the violent Capitol insurrection that followed. Imagine that. The decision to move forward with the effort was born out of Democratic frustration with the House GOP, which declined to publicly rebuke Gosar, who has a lengthy history of incendiary remarks. Really, Kevin McCarthy could have done something about this, spoke out. Nah, we're just going to end the guy, whatever. We do what we want on this side of the aisle. Instead, GOP leaders have largely ignored his actions and urged their members to vote against the resolution censoring him, which they have, of course, it seems, for the vastly most part. They also warned that the efforts set a precedent that could come back to haunt Democrats if they find themselves in the minority. Representative Grabby Hands Matt Gaetz of Florida said, "I would just suggest we have better things to do on the floor of the House of Representatives than be hall monitors for Twitter." Boy, this guy should really hope that they don't find anything better to do. The resolution will remove Gosar from two committees, Natural Resources and the Oversight and Reform Panel, on which Ocasio-Cortez also serves, limiting his ability to shape legislation and deliver for constituents. It states that depictions of violence can foment actual violence and jeopardize the safety of elected officials, citing the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol as an example. Gosar becomes the 24th House member to be censured, though it carries no practical effect except to provide a historical footnote that marks a lawmaker's career. It is the strongest punishment the House can issue of expulsion, short of expulsion, which requires a two-third vote. Democratic Representative Trump, which he should be, expulsion should be, the guy should be just kicked to the curb. I mean, really, that's, you can't pull this kind of stuff in 2021. It's insane that, that they wouldn't have the vote to do something like that to these whack jobs. But I mean, I guess that's what happens when, a good number of the folks who are on that side of the aisle, much representative of those type of whack jobs, not saying that all Republicans are, are like this, but, we're looking at about 28 to 33% of the, entire country, is in agreements, with these, freaking psychopaths. So that's saying something, for sure. It's gross. It's just absolutely gross. Democratic Representative Charles Rangel, the former chairman of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee, was the last to receive the rebuke in 2010 for financial misconduct. It would be the second time this year the House has initiated the removal of GOP lawmaker from an assigned committee, the first being Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. Gosar, a 6-term congressman, posted the video over a week ago with a note saying, any anime fans out there? The roughly 90-second video was, we already covered that. Ocasio-Cortez, whose receipt of repeated death threats has required her to spend thousands on security, said Gosar, has not apologized to her. She singled out McCarthy for not condemning Gosar. What's so hard about saying this is wrong? You know, and that's real. Ocasio-Cortez said on the House floor Wednesday, this is not about me. This is about Representative Gosar. This is about what we are willing to accept. That's real, you know. What kind of a freaking psychopath, you know, would not, you know, would support this? I mean, people actually sign their name in support of this, and Kevin McCarthy stands in silence. Representative Adam Kinzinger was one of the few Republicans saying he would vote to censure Gosar. We have to hold members accountable who incite and glorify violence, who spread and perpetuate dangerous conspiracies. The failure to do so will take us one step closer to this fantasized violence becoming real, becoming more fanaticized, if you will. This is not the first brush with controversy for Gosar, who was first elected in 2010's Tea Party way of guys. He's been repeatedly criticized by his own siblings, 6 of whom appeared in a campaign ad supporting his Democratic opponent in 2018. Earlier this year, Gosar looked to form an America First caucus with other hardline Republican House members that aim to promote Anglo-Saxon political traditions, because this is your country, right? Heard what Michael Flynn's talking about, one religion? This is a thing. While warning that mass immigration was putting the unique identity of the U.S. white people at risk. He's made appearances at fringe right-wing events, including a 2018 rally in London for a jailed British activist who repeatedly spread anti-Muslim views, and a gathering in Florida last February hosted by Nick Fuentes on an internet personality who has promoted white supremacist beliefs. He's also portrayed a woman shot by Capitol Police during the attack on the Capitol as a martyr, claiming she was executed. And he falsely suggested that a 2017 white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, you know, the one with good old Ted Landrum, you know, on the front page there, old Ted Von Newcomb, that piece of garbage. I brush my teeth after this. Falsely suggested that the 2017 white supremacist rally in Charlottesville was instigated by the left, of course, and backed by billionaire George Soros. Teddy, did you get that Soros money? Is that how you got there? Oh my goodness. A major funder of liberal causes who's become the focus of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. So that's unique. So according to Representative Gosar, looks like George Soros is bankrolling you know, Teddy Landrum, paying him for it. It's you know, what is this, some kind of a conspiracy, a leftist conspiracy, kind of like what they were talking about the January 6th riots. I mean, you're still seeing folks on social media talking about how you know, it was Antifa. So I guess it's good news that you know, the Antifa shaman is going to be going to prison for 41 months for you know, for showing up and acting like a jackass with you know, a bunch of these other radical leftists carrying Trump flags and beating the hell out of cops and whatnot. But hey, you know, that's a different story for a different day. We're gonna take a short break. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you in a minute. If day trading is too stressful, or you just don't want to deal with the volatility of the market, M1 Finance has got you covered. This easy-to-use trading platform basically lets you build your own index fund out of companies that you believe in. And if you use my link at chainsawccc.com/M1, M1 Finance will give you a free $30 just for signing up and funding your M1 account. Get started today. chainsawccc.com/M1. $30 is waiting for you, bro. Thanks for watching Chainsaw Cash, Coffee, and Chaos. I'm sure you noticed that we went way over time. One more time again. And I'm sure you noticed a little bit more colorful language in this episode than in previous episodes. Of course, we are no longer formatted for radio. So it really doesn't matter if we go over time per se. And you know, some of the language issues that we had previously, you know, that shit don't really matter, but I'm going to keep it on the down low anyway, just for respect to the audience. So, but you know, if you hear me get excited, don't get offended, because it is what it is. And if we go over time, don't get too, you know, don't get too freaked out about that either. Just pour yourself another sippy cup, and we'll call it a day, right? But I do want to thank everybody who has been watching my show, who subscribed to the YouTube channel, who's been followed me on Facebook, who's been, you know, and some of the folks have been sharing my Twitter feeds. And I only use Twitter, you know, and I'm still new to Twitter, so I don't really know how to use it. So I've basically just been posting cute things. I'm taking them as screenshots, putting them on my Facebook, and then sending, you know, doing like President Trump does, right? Because that seemed like it worked out pretty good for that guy. But again, thank you to everyone who has been watching the show. And just remember, don't cry over spilled milk unless it's in your coffee. See you in the next one.